Tani, where are you now? In London?
Yes, alhamdulillah. London, I think we are live. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala al-ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyidina nabiyyina wa qurrata a'yunina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. A very, very warm welcome, alhamdulillah, to our guests this evening, guest speakers, and also, mashallah, all of you joining us live from wherever you are in the world. Alhamdulillah, we are streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And today's discussion, inshallah, we're very lucky to have four individuals who can speak from first-hand experience, senior individuals in senior roles, uh, who can inshallah shed some light. And even today at lunchtime, I was speaking to my team and we were talking about, should we leave and go to Dubai as well? Things are getting pretty grim in the UK. It feels like a sinking ship sometimes. So should we consider making hijrah? It's something that many people are thinking about right now, and perfect opportunity to educate ourselves a little bit on this directly from the horse's mouth, inshallah. So I'm going to kick off by firstly welcoming Brother Abdul Basit and asking him briefly to introduce himself so we get a bit of an idea, inshallah, of his background, and we'll then go around all of our honorable guests before we start our conversation.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Tanim. It's great to be here. So my name is Abdul Basit, and I am by now 17 years in the Middle East, quite traveling around in the region. I work for a big four accountancy firm as a Middle East leader and partner. Um, I used to be in Europe previously, so I lived in the Netherlands. So it was 17 years ago that I moved to the Middle East.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. That's a long time in the Middle East. I mean, 17 years ago, was there anything there in the Middle East?
Yeah, when I joined in, when was that? In 2002, there was still a lot of desert, but now by now you can't see much of the desert in Dubai itself, in Dubai proper. But yeah, they have
MashaAllah.
developed quite a
Amazing.
bit last 17 years.
Huge amount. I mean, I can't even imagine. I don't even remember hearing the word Dubai or or things like that 17 years ago. Subhanallah. I mean, I think it was maybe just coming up, mashallah. I'm
Yes,
gonna
yes.
thank you for that. And so I've also worked for a big four. I've worked for Deloitte. So it's really nice to hear that you're from that world that I have had an insight into. I'd love to come to Brother Omar and hear a little bit more about your background, inshallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, all brothers and sisters who are listening on live today. And thank you. It's been an honor to be here as one of your guests for tonight. Um, so, yeah, my name is Omar. I've been here in Dubai for 15 years as well. Currently, I just rejoined the one of the big four firm as well in here in Dubai. Previously, I was working with Amazon for 5 years and rejoined back to big four firm after 10 years tenure there.
Amazing, mashallah. And where were you living before you moved to the Middle East?
So yeah, I was living back in Philippines and I had a few months stint in Japan for
Yeah,
6 months for half a year. Yeah.
that's amazing, mashallah. And let me come to Brother Mansoor. Let me make sure. Yes, you. Let me see. can you have a try at speaking? Because I think you may be muted. Oh no, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, oh, no, we just heard you a little while ago. Subhanallah. Let's maybe check the settings on your device real quick. No. Oh dear, oh dear. No problem. While we do that, inshallah, I'd love to bring Brother Arslan in. He's very kindly joining us, although he's traveling at the moment. He's very kindly uh, taken time out. Jazakallah khair. Can you tell us a little bit about your professional background and how long you've been in the Middle East?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I've been in Saudi Arabia for almost 30 years.
30.
So yeah. So I
MashaAllah.
moved here when I was, I think, 7 or 8 year old. But then I moved to Ireland for 5 years. So I've lived in Ireland for 5 years. I did my higher education there.
Okay.
And then in 2011, I moved back to Saudi Arabia. So yeah, it has been great. I've seen Saudi Arabia transform from literally desert to these high-rise buildings and modernization. Yeah, so
Mm.
it has been a great journey so far, I would say. Yeah,
That's very interesting. So you have been in Saudi Arabia a very long time, but you have had the experience of life in Ireland, and
yes,
obviously in a non-Muslim environment, in a modern
correct.
economy. So it'll be very interesting to hear your thoughts in some of the questions I've got coming up, inshallah. Wonderful.
Inshallah,
I
inshallah.
believe Brother Mansoor now, inshallah, I think he's on a different device. Jazakallah khair.
It is. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Am I
Walaikum
audible
salam.
now?
We can
Perfect.
hear you perfectly.
Perfect.
Jazakallah khair.
Thank you. So my name is Mansoor. I work in a Big Four also. I lead the technology business and been in the region for about 17 years now almost. I
MashaAllah.
joined right at the cusp of meltdown when 2008 was happening. That's when I decided to come to Middle East. Most of the people were leaving Middle East at that point in time, but I landed a good opportunity, so here I was. And yeah, before that, I've worked in two other continents, spent a few years in US and spent a few years in
MashaAllah.
Malaysia working for another company. And my roots are in Pakistan. That's where I grew up and had my initial primary education and my chartered accountancy. I worked there also for a couple of years before moving to Malaysia.
Amazing, amazing. Alhamdulillah. So, professionals with experience living in different countries, obviously, decades of experience in the corporate world. My first question would be, what has it been like living in the Middle East compared to if your life was somewhere else? For example, London, for example, Malaysia, for example, Ireland, for example, Netherlands. What has it been like, let's say, the last 10 years? What would you say? So I'm going to start from Brother Omar.
Well, yeah, I mean, Alhamdulillah, I found a job here in Middle East. It leads me to Islam actually. So when I came to Dubai, I know I'm a Christian, and then I found Islam, obviously to.
Alhamdulillah.
And I'm very thankful until now with Abdul Basit introducing Islam to me.
MashaAllah.
Um, and yes, I think very thankful to working here in Middle East. It's really different from Philippines, obviously. I think the safety and in terms of religion, you can really practice, and there's no challenge at all. Mosque is everywhere. You can pray, and there's a lot of brothers and sisters who will help you in and guide you through your journey. Especially, I think in my case, where I'm a revert Muslim, so yeah, that's really helpful.
That's amazing, mashallah. Jazakallah khair for sharing that with us. And I know, may Allah bless those who helped you find the true path, and inshallah give them lots of rewards, inshallah. Um, Brother Slan, how has it been like for you to live in the Middle East? And let's compare it to your experience in Ireland.
Well, yeah, obviously, it's great because I'm surrounded by all the Muslim uh, communities here, uh, rather than non-Muslims. And also, when I was back in Ireland, I really had troubles in, going to restaurants because I had to make sure they're halal and stuff, right? But in the Middle East, we don't have that challenge, so I can eat whatever I want. I know it's all halal, and the especially in Jeddah, I feel it's Saudi Arabia is going a bit liberal, but especially Jeddah, where I live, it still has those traditional values, and it's somewhat more conservative, I would say, compared to Riyadh and other cities like Khobar, which is in the eastern region. So, so I prefer this kind of a lifestyle. I just I would say that I like to be away from too much of modernization, because then you end up doing some sins, or you're exposed to sins. So yeah, so I think this suits me. So that's why I would love to continue my life here.
Mashallah. And
Yeah,
I think one of the beautiful things about Jeddah is you are less than an hour away from from Mecca,
correct.
and
Yes, yes, yes.
the
So it
Haram.
takes me almost like 35 to 40 minutes to drive to Makkah, and
Incredible.
Medina is only like 4 hours drive from here. Yes.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
What a blessing. What a blessing, mashallah.
Yeah.
And let me ask Brother Mansoor, how has it been like for you to live in the Middle East as opposed to other parts of the world that you've experienced?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think one thing I'll definitely resonate with the rest of the colleagues is the ease of practicing religion, and that's pretty natural to this part of the world. Uh, Having said that, it's a little different in Dubai than compared to Saudi, for example, because I did my initial schooling years in Saudi also. Saudi, it's very difficult to, for example, find a club and go to concerts and even go to cinema until recently. So the environment was very sort of congenial to practicing faith if you really wanted to go down that path. Dubai had all those distractions for a long, long time. So it was a little bit harder than Saudi, but way easier than anywhere else, especially from the Western world. Nobody, you actually get looked upon rather than looked down upon when you're practicing your faith. That's a big difference I felt.
Subhanallah.
And it's a great place to raise a family, very safe. I think one thing that stands out in Dubai, especially, is I think it's probably the safest place on the planet when it comes to law and order. So I think, yeah, those are the two big positives. And if I compare it to especially the Western world, if you want to stay away from the normal things like mortgage and riba and all those other problems, it's very, very easily possible here because there are other options. There are uh, tools and mechanisms and people available to guide you very quickly and very easily to the right path. So it's relatively easy to follow your faith here.
Alhamdulillah. No, I really, really appreciate that. Brother Abdul Basit, how's it been like for you living in the Middle East, for you and your family? Brother Abdul Basit?
It's I must say it was a change in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. I think there may be a small lag. We can hear you.
Okay. So okay, very good. So no, it was a yeah. Okay. No, it was an important change in my life. If I look at it, because I was pretty much all my life in Europe, and it was an important change in my life actually, because I used to live in the Netherlands, and I grew up there. had my education and everything. So I was really, you can say, um, an average European, who was used to whatever we do in Europe, etc. I got even married there, had my first child as well. But the moment I decided to move to another part of the world, it happened to be Dubai. And what I liked about Dubai, or the Middle East in general, is that when I came here in 2002, so much was happening, right? And if I look at that time back in 2002 and before, when I was in Europe, in the Netherlands, it was a very, let's say, monotonous lifestyle of mine. And in Europe at that time, not much was happening. But when I came here, I felt like, oh, there is an enormous economic boom, especially the real estate boom at that time in Dubai. And there was so much of job opportunity. The entire world actually was paying attention to Dubai, and everybody was investing in the real estate and opening up the businesses. So I really felt, hey, that's a great change in my life, because I went from a monotonous and not much happening lifestyle to a very, let's say, a lifestyle where actually 24/7 shops are open, and you can really enjoy, right, at any moment of the day. So that was a big change for me, and I liked it actually. And also, the weather was an amazing change for me, because if I tell you the truth, and you can probably underline this, that Tanim, is out of the 12 months, 9 to 10 months you go through rain, right? At least in Netherlands, that was a reality for me. The moment you come here in Dubai, you really have the sun throughout the year. Yes, you have really periods with high temperatures, but somehow I like the high temperatures. I really liked it actually.
Are you
And
sure?
so, yes, I'm 100% sure. If I tell you that I like to walk and even jog in high temperatures, I really liked it actually. And so somehow, it was like a great change for me, a very welcome change in my life. And yes, I was able to, you can say, start a new phase in my career as well. So I joined here, the big accountancy firm, and my career went really very well, I must say. And today I'm a partner, which is a great thing as well. So for me, it was welcome, but also what I can highlight is very multicultural, and but also for an average Muslim like myself, you I was able to get that balance between, let's say an educated lifestyle of a lifestyle of an educated person, but also somebody who has high values for practicing the religion. So for me, I felt this is a good balance. I mean, you can go anywhere, you can pray easily, 5 times. Ramadan, I tell you, is awesome, especially in the city I live in Sharjah. Ramadan is really great. I really love to be here actually, to have my Ramadan, and so yeah, for me it was really a welcome phase in my life.
Mashallah. No, that's amazing. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for sharing that. I think you've mentioned something that is of interest to me, which is the main thing that puts me off moving to the Middle East, despite its amazing appeal right now, and is the very hot, unbearable weather, which I had a taste of. I came to Dubai in July,
Right.
and I found it unbearable. It was stuffy. We were in Jumeirah, so it was seafront. It was very humid,
Yeah.
sticky everywhere. You can't
Yeah.
even breathe. My glass is steaming up. It was. I was there with Mufti Bank and some other brothers, and we were trying to record the whole thing, and the camera was overheating. Tell me about that. Obviously, not you, Abdul Basit, because you mentioned you love it. Okay, so I'm gonna ask, inshallah, and again, I think Brother Arslan is used to from a young age living there. I would love to ask Brother Mansoor and Brother Omar, who obviously you also probably come from hot countries, but the Middle East is a different ball game, right? So tell me a little bit about that, the weather, and Is it really as bad as people think? 47, 50 degrees, you can't go out, you're in the house, in the car, in the mall, in the office all the time. Tell me more about your experience with the heat, and then we'll go into some other hot topics, inshallah. So, Brother Mansoor first, then I'll come to Brother Omar.
Sure. Yeah, you're right, Tanim. I think it is a bit of a shock when you come first time because you're not used to this much heat. Even places we came from, it would never get this hot.
This hot, yeah.
But it doesn't take too much time to get used to it. I think that's the good part of. I think that's part of human nature anyway. But if we talk about UAE especially, the city, the country is designed to manage heat. So you don't have to really expose yourself to heat unless you really want to, unless you really enjoy it. Like Abdul Basit, if you want to jog in the sun, you can, but there's almost no need to do that because all the schools, all the malls, all the parking lots, even homes, everything is air conditioned and it's very well controlled. So elements don't really bother you so much, especially during the daylight. In the evening, it gets pleasant because it's a city on the beach. It might get a little humid during July and August, so you probably chose the worst possible month in
That is
terms of weathers to come. It gets very humid in July, August. But outside that, in the evening, you can actually go out for a walk or a run every day. Early mornings are very pleasant. After Fajr, it's a good time to go for a bike or a run.
okay, mashallah.
So it took a couple of weeks for us to get used to it, but I think within weeks, not months, we were
Okay,
very comfortable.
mashallah. Amazing. Brother Omar, what's your experience when it comes to the weather?
Yeah, well, I came here in the month of February, so it was really the weather's
Amazing.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing during February, and then slowly I experienced the true weather here in Middle East, especially during June, July, August, and for the first year, I think first 2 years, I'm having like a nosebleed every time the weather change into extreme, summer, and it can really everybody gets sick as well. There's like colds break during that time, during change of weather. So yeah, I mean, as Brother Mansour saying, your body change into that weather condition for the time until now, my body is used to it. Now when I go back to Philippines during July, August, and it's raining, I feel like, oh wow, it's totally different, and then you get sick as well because you visit once a year or twice a year to Philippines. So it's really a change for me. I mean, with the weather, especially during the summer, but now I get used to it. And yeah, I mean, we have all the ACs. Don't worry, all the cars are air conditions, buses, trains, and the malls are air conditions every time. And yeah, in flats and all the offices are all air conditioned. So yeah, not to worry about the extreme weather.
It's not as bad as some of us may think then.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
that's great. Yeah,
It's
that's
good to
great.
hear that. It's good to hear that, mashallah. And just a quick message to the audience. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Whether you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on LinkedIn or you're watching on Facebook, feel free to comment. And inshallah, I'll be able to see your question, we'll then pose the question to our uh, honorable guests today, alhamdulillah. Now, as a Muslim, alhamdulillah, in the Middle East, you're able to not worry about halal food. You don't have to worry about finding somewhere to pray. You don't have to worry about, uh, you know, um, racism. You don't have to worry about a lot of these things. You don't have to worry about people breaking into your home. But some feedback that I got from friends who do live in the Middle East, they say that they miss the Islamic activism that you find in uh, countries where Muslims are a minority. For example, our local masjid, they do BJJ for the kids, they do the football club for the kids, they have 3 halakas every week. And I've been told that this is not something that you would find in Jeddah. You won't find this in Riyadh. You may not find this in your local masjid in Dubai, maybe not even in Sharjah. Is this true in your experience? I'm going to ask Brother Arslan.
Yes, it is true, but uh, you won't find it in masjid. But I mean, if you want to join any clubs and stuff, that's they're in schools and universities, right? So you have football club, or you have different kind of activities going on, and that's also pretty much controlled, right? The schools here, I would say, they're segregated between boys and girls. There's no co-education and stuff. So yeah, not in the mosque itself, but yes, in other institutions, you would find it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if you want to enroll your kids in a halakha, is that somewhere that you have access? Do you have access to that?
I've not experienced it, to be honest, so I wouldn't comment on that. Sorry, but yeah, I am not sure on that. Yeah, so I'll pass that question. Yeah.
And inshallah. So, Brother Abdul Basit, in your experience, when it comes to Islamic activism and activities, dawah related activities, retreats, charity football tournaments, and family gatherings, uh, this type of stuff. Do you feel like it's lacking in the Middle East because people take things for granted? Whereas here, as a minority, we have to make an effort to keep our families and children on the straight path. We have to make an extra effort. What's your experience on this topic?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I think it is there, but in a different way, and it's a bit regulated, right? It's not like in like you have that in Europe, where you as minority, you can just go ahead and do whatever is culturally fit. But here it is there, uh, but in a different way. So to give you the example is you have a lot of registered Quran and Sunnah uh, madrasas. So you can send your kids or yourself even. You could go and do the hifz. You can do. There are halakas as well. So you can learn if you like. You can do that. And so as long as it is registered and licensed by the authority, it is possible. Another way that I have seen is like you have community centers. So you could have, for instance, as an example, the Indian Muslim Community Center, right? So, and they are also licensed, and but obviously they have to submit their programs, and you would generally get approvals for that. So then you can carry out your activity plan throughout the year. So there is no there's no, I would say, how to say, they don't stop these things as long as you go through the right channels and you obtain the license and so on. I have seen a number of them, even in Sharjah as well as in Dubai. There is a Kalima Institute, for instance, where I used to go in Dubai. Very nice, run by non-locals but expats, Muslims, and we had weekly activities there, and it was good. So it is possible. It's not like I think about it and I just do it my way, but if you go through the proper channels, then it's possible.
MashaAllah, I really appreciate that. Jazakallah khair. Next question is related to the process of actually moving. You've all moved to the Middle East, Dubai and Saudi from another place. You may have had to leave family behind, maybe your parents, maybe siblings. What was that like? Because for many people, that's the thing keeping them where they are is I don't think I can make the move without my family, and I would probably miss them too much, or they need me, or whatever. So, what was it like doing that move, and perhaps accepting the fact that you will be away from family? And also, what other things worried you at the time when you made the move? What are the things that were worrying you at that time? So I'm going to ask Brother Mansoor. to share his sort of. Obviously, this is going back quite some years, but I'm sure you remember that period very clearly.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, Tanim. It is obviously a big decision, especially moving countries. Moving cities is harder, moving countries way harder because, you can't be close to your family. Even if you take your immediate family, your kids and your spouse with you, your parents, your siblings, your extended family is not going to be around. So it obviously you have to weigh that in. We were discussing that already when we were moving out of Pakistan. Dubai was a very natural positive for us because one, it was so close that you can literally come in every month. It's a 2.5 hour flight from here back home. And the other big plus was that my parents had spent a lot of their young years in Middle East, in Saudi Arabia especially. So I knew that if they'll ever move outside Pakistan, they'll actually move to Dubai or Middle East with me. So it was a very easy decision. When I got an option from Malaysia to come here, it was a no-brainer. And soon after we came, we brought our parents also with us. So
Okay,
that's good part about Middle East, that you can sponsor your family, your parents relatively quickly. If there's a downside, I'll say it is the cost also, because cost of living in Dubai is expensive. If I have to give somebody a caution of moving to Middle East with family, they need to factor in two big costs. One is the education; it is expensive if you're going to put your kids in good school, and the housing is an expensive cost also. So if you can budget for these two, I think other other problems are really secondary. You can be with your family, with your culture, very quickly. So it was, for us, it was very quick, alhamdulillah, and an easy transition. It didn't take me more than a few months to have everybody, at least my immediate family, with me in a
mashallah.
couple of months, including my parents, mashallah.
That's amazing, mashallah. Brother Omar, what was it like for you making that transition, and thinking about uprooting your life and then going to a new exciting place?
Yeah, I mean it's a bit difficult, I would say. It took probably months for discussion with my parents and my siblings at that time because the news about Middle East is everywhere is not showing good in all the national television.
Hmm.
So they're concerned for me moving into Middle East and yeah, I mean I think that's one of the biggest factor that we have to consider our safety. But then when I step in Dubai, I feel like I was back in Manila, in Philippines. I see a lot of Filipino
Yes.
people. If you see here, there's like in the malls and in everywhere you will see Filipinos. So it's a very diverse culture. A lot of nationalities. I think the locals actually are pretty much probably 10% of the population and then made up of Indians, Pakistan, Filipinos, and the rest of the Arab nationality. So yeah, I mean it's and the way I think and the way I communicated or give feedback to my family as well is like when they see me change, especially when I found Islam, when they see me really change, become a mature person and doing halal things. So that's I think one of the things that convinced them that I'm in a safe place.
Yes. Mashallah, mashallah. That's wonderful to hear. And I'd like to ask, actually, let's hear from Brother Abdul Basit because he went from a European country to the Middle East. What was that move like? What were the difficulties and what were your concerns at the time?
Yes, I left Europe at a time when there was a bit of economic crisis. So it wasn't the time to remain there for a long period. It was also, let's say, for me, like I need to make a change in my life. So I got married, had my first child. So my life went through, some, I went through some strategic thinking, to put it like this.
Hmm.
I want to make a change in my life. And I was held by my dear father at that time. And so I actually made, you can say, a jump uh, into into the Middle East at that time in Dubai, without having any work. So I said, let me just go there, let me
Oh,
find it out. Yes, let me
how
find
did
it
you
out.
go without a visa? Was it just
Well,
tourist? The tourist.
yes, yes. I mean, because of your European nationality, you get a visa on arrival, you can stay there for 3 months. But within those 3 months, I found ways to, let's say, at that time, open up a free zone company to have, let's say, a long-term visa, and then give myself a bit more time to find a suitable work environment. So it took me altogether 9 months, but in that 9 months, I was basically without any work, without any income.
Wow.
But I had sufficient means to survive. But obviously, there was a limit to everything. But I learned a lot of things in those 9 months, actually, because I started to adjust to the local way of doing. I started to understand the people, how they think, how they decide, and what kind of talent they look for. So I learned to change myself, actually. I was obviously well educated, had my own thinking ways, and I, regarded myself quite high in how I worked and how I did, how I interacted with people. But I realized that this is a completely different culture, a completely different culture. Even if I talk about my skill set, nobody will get impressed. So because the way they look at things is different. So I realized that if I want to, change the people around me, the first change is myself. So I realized, okay, perhaps I will not get the ideal job to start with. Perhaps I have to think about restarting my career, because essentially I was restarting my life. So I said, okay, what's the problem in restarting my career? So I went back quite a number of years in my career, but I thought I will come back on track. So I picked up initially a job that was actually like an accountant. So I said, you know what, I'll get myself back on track in a year or so. And that's exactly what happened, because I had the skill set, I had the confidence, and I was sure about myself, because I also knew how to manage people. So in those 9 months, I forced my way to get a job, and that's where I still am after 17 years. So Alhamdulillah, I learned a lot. But then I also, when I entered the organization, it was a different organization than what it is today, obviously. But I learned that if I want to change the people around me, I need to change myself. So I really changed myself, and that was uh, for me a new experience, because it helped me to contribute to the organization I'm working for in a different way than what I used to do. So I really became a change manager. And yes, I was at that time also alone without family, but the family came back, joined me fairly quickly. And then my second child was also born when I just got my new job. So again, a new thing happened in life.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. That's amazing. And I want to ask Brother Arslan a question from me personally, which is,
Sure.
let's say I'm a professional in Deloitte, I'm a manager in Deloitte, and I want to come and work in the Middle East. So I've been working in London for 9 years now, and I want to come to Riyadh when it's happening now. There's a lot of jobs. What differences do I notice in the corporate culture, in the way how things are run in the Middle East, or in the corporate space in the Middle East? What differences will I notice?
Um, Look, the laws and regulations in the Middle East are still, not fully matured, right? So UK is more like everything is pretty much standardized and everything, right? And also, Deloitte has a culture where you wouldn't feel that you are working, you know, in a different country, because we have this culture of having doing the same things in all the countries more or less, right? But it also depends on your manager or your leader, what background he or she comes from. That would make a huge difference, and to make you feel whether you're actually outside of the UK or you are still working in the European country. And in Riyadh especially, there are many managers or senior managers or even directors. They are from your European background, right? So you wouldn't actually feel that. Like, for example, our team, we have multicultural environment, right? So we have people from Pakistan, we have people from Netherlands, we have people from England, etc. Right? So it really depends. But because we have ethics and we have all these things in place, so I would say yes, it's pretty much controlled, and you wouldn't. Yeah, if you go and work for industry within Saudi Arabia, then you will feel a huge
I see.
difference,
I see.
because those industries are actually run by Saudi nationals,
Not the national.
or people who are from here, so they will have their own rules. But because Deloitte is a global organization, it's a completely different story. Yeah.
So it's going to be a pretty smooth integration into
Inshallah, yes.
mainstream.
If that's what your plan is, yes,
Okay,
you will be happy if you move here. Yeah.
okay, Alhamdulillah. That's good to
Yeah.
hear. Now, a question for Brother Abdul Basit. Would it be easier for me to become a partner if I was working in the Netherlands or if I was working in Dubai?
Oh, that's a good question. And obviously, it's all about your nasib, isn't it? Right? Uh,
That's the right
but
answer. MashaAllah.
that's right. Yeah. But I would say, look, in terms of economic, uh, how to say, economic progress, the Middle East is progressing much faster than any other part of the globe. We all know that. And as they call it, the giga transformations that are happening in the Middle East are really real far-reaching. It's really transformational. We have new tax laws, tax systems coming in the region. We have probably the latest cars. We have the highest skyscrapers. You name it, we have cloud seeding. So so much is happening, and because there is still economic growth in the Middle East, especially the Gulf countries, in particular Saudi Arabia right now. If you want to become a partner, then the Middle East is definitely the region to fast track your career, to become CEO, CFO, partner, and so on.
MashaAllah. No, that's a very interesting perspective. I really appreciate that. And I think that's what a lot of professionals are thinking. Will it be harder? Will it be easier? Especially
Yeah,
ambitious professionals, and some just want to take it easy. They just want to
yeah, I
have
can tell you,
more
yes,
nice.
yeah, I can tell you, even within the organization, my organization, they had schemes. If you want to fast track your career, for instance, go from Dubai to Saudi Arabia. So they were encouraging people, because there was a time Saudi Arabia was not much in appetite, you know. So to encourage people, they said you can fast track your career if you
Mm.
go to Saudi Arabia. So because there was so much of opportunity, and that really happened. So, for instance, if it took you X number of years, then probably it reduced by 50%. So you fast track your career by 50%. Yeah.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Right. Final question. Final question to from my side before we address some of the Q&A from the audience. Question for Brother Mansoor. What is something you don't like about living in the Middle East?
Um, I think it is. I'll sound like I'm just cribbing on a first world problem, but it is really.
Be careful, Mansoor. Be careful.
Yeah, no, it's the way my kids are being raised. I think they are being raised in a bubble. When I
Mm.
say in a bubble, their awareness of stranger danger, their awareness of how to handle themselves in countries where the law and order is not really up to scratch. That is a really hard reality. Whenever we travel to Europe or US especially, or even back home to Pakistan or somewhere
Yeah.
in Far East, they put their phone on the table and they think that's how you reserve your table, and they leave the money in the car and expect that if the driver will find their wallet, they'll bring it back. So we keep on reminding them that that's not gonna happen, and sometimes there have been mishaps also, but it's been 16, 17 years of systematic learning in Dubai for them. Now, to unlearn that once they go to university, which one of them is getting ready next year, I think he's going to struggle for first few years. I hope not, but that's my real fear, that he's not that street smart.
Mm,
Very, he's not going to probably try to pull a fast one with anybody. He's not very cunning.
yeah,
He thinks people mean what they say. So that's one concern I have with raising family in Middle East.
I see. It's we may end up, because of the comfort, we may end up raising very, very soft individuals who may be naive. But I guess the solution would be to let them spend some time outside of Dubai and
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
the hard way.
True,
Mashallah.
true. That's what we're trying to do every week. We take them somewhere funny, but yeah, I still worry about when he's gonna be on his own.
Khair, inshallah. Brother Omar, what is something you dislike about Dubai and living in Dubai, your life in Dubai?
Well, I think, yeah, Brother Mans already mentioned it. I think what I dislike most is probably the the level of the level of how the city becomes, the gigantic story success, you can say, is the same with the cost of living.
Mhm.
So the rents are becoming high, the everything is becoming high, and people are now like, and the traffic. I mean, the traffic is terrible, becoming terrible in Dubai, especially in the main streets. But yeah, I mean, other than that, if you consider it everywhere, you go to New York, you go to Philippines, you go everywhere else, there
Okay.
the traffic is there anyways, right?
Yeah.
And the cost of living is also the same. So you balance it out and you say, okay, I'm still good in Dubai because safety. You can't buy safety anywhere apart from where I went to Japan, I think, where you can probably leave your things and then somebody will just
Mhm.
return it to you. You can find, thousands of umbrellas lost and found in Japan, and same thing with in bikes. Same thing here in Dubai. I mean, we you lost your wallet in the car. You leave your things in the park and go somewhere else, and then go back. Your things is still there. So, and my kids are growing up 15 and 16 years old.
Same. Yeah.
What the safety, you can leave them, you can go to school, go back to house, and you are at ease, that they are safe going back home. And the risk for them um, to be having some bad influences around them is very less compared
Yes.
to probably you are in the Philippines or you are in other parts of the world. So yeah, I mean, it's expensive to be in Dubai, but I think you can't buy safety anywhere else.
Amazing, amazing, mashallah. Jazakallah khair for sharing so much with us. I'd like to address some of the questions. So, mashallah, we have Brother Mubin on YouTube. He first asked to clarify which country we're talking about. I think the title will clarify that we're talking about Dubai and by extension, the Middle East. He was asking whether or not you have to pay for education and healthcare, which has been explained that yes, I believe education, especially if you want good education, it is something you pay for yourself, and it can be as expensive as 10,000 a year, from what I hear my friends share, and that starts from primary education onwards. And what about healthcare? Tell us, can anybody share some light on healthcare? How does it work? That's something that's not very clear. Do you have to? Is it all private? Is it insurance based?
Yeah, that's one good thing in Dubai. Working in Dubai is one of the rules is that, or legal rules is that the company should provide healthcare to each employees. And obviously, depends on your level. You have a certain type of healthcare capacity included in your package. But yeah, it's provided by the law that each company should provide a healthcare to or medical insurance for each employees.
Mashallah.
Tanim,
And
I'll like to quickly add on that. It
sure.
is kind of a double-edged sword. If you're working for a company, you're sorted. But if you're an entrepreneur, you're doing a business of your own,
Mhm.
this is probably one of your biggest costs also, because you have to insure all your staff, yourself, your family.
Okay.
If you don't have that insurance, the healthcare is really, really expensive. Just to see a doctor, you're spending 120, 130 pounds per
Yeah.
trip just for
Yeah.
the fees, and then
Mhm.
medicine and test everything on top. It gets really expensive really quickly. So if you're thinking of doing something of your own, like an entrepreneur or a startup, then you should factor this into your budget.
Mm,
It's an expensive thing.
Mashallah. And I'm just gonna throw a bombshell in now. I have a residence in Dubai, just to let you know. But
Wow.
it's a
Great.
free zone one. It's a free zone one, so I'm not a
Wonderful.
real resident in that way. But Alhamdulillah, I do have to come twice a year, and I do look forward to coming twice a year, mashallah, but not in July. Um, and there was a question around visas, and I think I'll just quickly address this. That I think for someone to want to live and work in Dubai, generally you need to have a visa from an employer. There are other ways through business and investing, but you can't just rock up and start and live there. Like you can go as a tourist for 3 months, but beyond that, you will need a work visa. And there's a good question here from Brother Ahmed on LinkedIn. What advice would you give to someone in the UK seeking to apply for a job in the Middle East? Are there any specific tips and strategies that you would recommend? And I'm sure you guys get approached probably by a lot of people in terms of who want to come to the Middle East to work. Um, what advice do you have? Let's
I
start
would
with,
say
we'll start with Brother Abdul Basit and then we'll go around, inshallah.
I think compared to when I came to Dubai, Middle East, by now you have very good number of recruitment agencies, and many of them are international and from Europe, like Michael Page, like Hayes, and so on. I would recommend to those in Europe to really apply for jobs through these recruitment agencies. And the second thing is so important: applying for jobs may not help you immediately. You need to have an extremely, I repeat, extremely proactive approach. So you will need to really be almost like aggressive in finding a job, finding an employment. You have to definitely apply with those, but you need to sit with those recruitment agencies. So if you can afford it, fly over to Dubai, sit with them, show them that you are there, spend a week, and get meetings lined up with potential potential employers. And then on the ground, do networking. It's so important here. The more people know you, the more you know people. It really works. Though decision can be very how to say objectively, but the more they know you, the more you are connected to them. It helps to find a job as soon as possible.
MashaAllah. That's wonderful. Well, that's very helpful. And I think it's a big difference from what we're used to here in the UK, where you just do your application and then you wait. Whereas
Yeah.
I guess you have to be a lot more proactive and aggressive. And I think that's a very important message to take. Brother Mansour, we have a question around how the Middle East compares to places like Malaysia, Turkey, Indonesia, Muslim majority countries also, not
Hmm.
super rich. And I guess you are well placed to answer that because you have lived in Malaysia. So, how does it, for example, compare living in Malaysia, Muslim country, compared to living in Dubai, which is also obviously the Islamic, Middle East Muslim country?
Yeah. No, I think my experience has been that I think practicing your religion, it is, I think, similar, whether it's Malaysia, Turkey, or Dubai. You get to do what you want. There's no resistance from any authorities or anybody outside. So that part is spiritual part is, I think, well, very similar. But the actual professional growth, the competition, the career growth that you can experience in Middle East is very different. I've worked in all these markets. I have a lot of colleagues who chose to go somewhere else as opposed to me. Now, when we exchange notes, the similar thing comes back that Abdul Basit Bhai was just underlining, that here the competition is very stiff. So, by this the same token, because the competition is high, you have to be more aggressive, more progressive in finding a job. By the same token, you have to stay very sharp also to retain and grow in your job also. So when you work hard and you stay sharp, you grow faster as well. So as you asked the question about becoming a partner, and his answer was Middle East is probably the right place. By same token, for Middle East, when you compare it to especially Malaysia or Turkey, there you almost fall into that 9 to 5 cycle, and everybody is just following almost like a regime. Here you can really go up the food chain very quickly if you have the right talent and you have the right work ethics. I felt that the environment is more geared towards promoting that aggressive growth.
Thank you very, very much. We have one question on YouTube. You know, is it still possible to fast track your career nowadays compared to previous years, where obviously there was a lot of things on offer to encourage people to come? Have things slowed down a little bit compared to maybe, let's say, 10, 15 years ago?
I think, yeah, there has been a change. Um, I mean, for instance, there was a time in in Saudi Arabia to let everybody come, right? So because they want to grow the economy, so there was a requirement to have more resources. But then they implemented the so-called, levies. So people had to pay family levies if you have family. That caused that a lot of people went back to their home countries actually. And now we see that, for instance, in the GCC in general, they have this requirement for nationalization, which I think is a good thing to do. And that is helping the local workforce to also benefit from the economic growth and to be in the private sector as well, in addition to, let's say, the public sector and the banking sector. And I think it slowed down the requirement of people from outside. However, I have not seen that it completely stopped. I have not seen this slowing down too much. There have been some ups and downs. We had Corona. We had a bit of, slowdown in some of the years. But generally, I still see that the region welcomes, people from outside the region. Like in Dubai, you have the scheme of, if you have certain skills and so on, you could get visas for 10 years and so on. Likewise, also in Saudi Arabia, if you have certain skill sets, etc., you can even get a nationality of Saudi Arabia. So it is still there, but you can say in a different way. But generally, I don't think there has been a slowdown too much.
Okay, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. What we'll do is there are some few questions. I'm keen to wrap up as well. Really appreciate all of your times. Very, very quickly, what would you say are the most in-demand jobs in Dubai right now? You know, is it programming? Is it tech? Is it media? Is it finance? I'm gonna ask Brother Omar what would you say, and anyone who is actually has an answer. What would you say are the most in-demand jobs at the
Yeah.
moment in Dubai?
Well, yeah, I think Dubai is gearing into that technological hubs. Even Saudi, I think everyone is going into that blockchain and all this stuff. So yeah, being in technology, you have a lot of opportunity for you. But yeah, I mean, finance is there as well, and other jobs. But yeah, mainly I think technology is one of the one of the fastest growing and highest paid career nowadays in Middle East.
Mashallah. Jazakallah khair for that. And final question on LinkedIn is how difficult is it to find an apartment in the beginning, and does the language barrier, where obviously in Dubai, from what I understand, everybody speaks English, but does the language barrier play any role in making things difficult in terms of job, housing, and the rest of it? And generally speaking, is how difficult is it to save part of your salary? If you, I mean, obviously you're not paying tax, so that's a huge saving. But
Yeah.
does it mean that you do actually get to save?
I think you can.
Go ahead.
I think you can save. Obviously, depends on your lifestyle, etc.
Correct.
So it is possible to save, assuming you have a reasonable income. Um, but also, I think there's no barrier, in my view, in terms of language. You can speak in Arabic, you can speak in English, you can speak in Hindi, Urdu. English is so common here as well, so you can easily do everything in English. But Omar, please go ahead. I think you had something to add.
No, I was gonna say the same. I think wherever you want to work, even not in Dubai, probably it depends on your lifestyle if you want to save something. Obviously, it's quite expensive if you want to, let's say, stay in in the corner of the city. But if you want to live outside of Dubai center town, then you can find a decent apartment with good rates as well. So yeah, I mean, unlike you want Lamborghini as your service, then you're gonna spend extra.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can save as well. You can go by metro, you can rent outside the city and save a lot.
mashallah. Amazing. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you all for sharing your time, your knowledge, and your experience with us, and perhaps saving a lot of trial and error for anyone who's interested in being in the same journey and making that move. And maybe you have convinced more people to make that move and completely change their life. May Allah bless you regardless. And Alhamdulillah. Thank you also, Brother Arslan. You were in mid travel and stopped to join us. And those of you who are interested in these kind of topics around professional life and faith and things like that, do follow Wiselife Academy. Inshallah, we'll be collaborating on my socials as well and bringing you more such sessions in the future. I thank you all once again. Jazakallah khair. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Walaikum
Assalamu
assalam.
alaikum.